Oh, thank you.
One, two, three, here we go. Casper. Alrighty. So, Casper, before we get into the today's topic, I do want, to mention to everyone, one, I want you to talk about your music, your band, and all of that will be in the episode description below, folks. But Casper is not new to Vulnerability Time Podcast because you were in a little promo of last season's episode called The Necessity of Suffering. So, two things. How does it feel to be back? First, how does it feel?
I mean, I'm honestly super stoked, and I'm happy that this time I just get to, talk about hippy-dippy bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, we're just talking about existential, philosophical stuff today instead of just me trying to promote my band, which is, obviously something I have to do for business, but not something I am made to do. I'm not a marketing person. Right. I make music.
Yeah. Yes, I hear you. Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, make this your episode because it is your episode. You're the star. You're the celebrity of this episode. It's your world. I'm literally just living in it. Literally, this is your episode. I'm excited. Seriously, I'm not even just saying that. I'm excited. You can even ask Alex. I've been looking forward to this episode.
Right on, sweet. Hey, I've been looking forward to it too. I've been telling everybody for weeks.
Yes, you're gonna be on a podcast. And the second thing I was gonna say, I completely forgot the second thing I was gonna say. So we love that. Okay, so before we really get into it, though, I do also want to say, tell us a little bit about you, Casper. Let us get to know you a little bit more. What do you do? What are your interests, hobbies, yada yada yada? Anything that you want to share.
Yeah, so this time you get to actually know about me. So yeah, I am inching from semi-professional into actual professional musician status, which feels nice. I'm getting a lot more gigs, doing a lot more work with bigger shows, actually getting paid finally. I think this month I'm actually going to be paying my bills pretty much only off of gig money for the first time. So that feels really cool.
Exactly.
That feels really cool. Speaking of which, I'm in 4 or 5 bands now, so I'll just send you all of those tags and stuff so people can hit me up wherever. I've got a couple. There's actually some exciting stuff going on with music finally, because we're sort of on the other end of all of the sort of business weirdness and red tape and stuff that I was talking about us dealing with in the last episode. We're actually kind of officially sort of out of that now, and so we're back to just making progress. I've got a couple guys from school that have taken a vested interest in helping me mix the album and stuff, so it'll finally be going out hopefully by the end of the year. So it feels nice to actually sort of be on the path of progress with that again. Other than that, I got engaged recently, so that's pretty cool. But it's also stressful because we wanted a fall wedding, so we've got not a lot of time to plan it because we don't want to wait a whole year. But
right, I hear you.
So it's just doing too much, but it's all good stuff. Music, wedding stuff. As far as passions go and stuff, I've been super into my current sort of obsessions are researching and watching old noir films and stuff. Most of them you can find on YouTube now because they're public domain and stuff. So I've been watching a lot of making my fiance and I watch a lot of noir films.
Oh, you said making. I know that's right.
Yeah. And other than that, I've been getting super into mixology, so I've been teaching myself bartending and stuff like that. I got a little cocktail bar set up in the apartment, and
there's a difference between a bartender and a mixologist. That is so cool. I remember on this movie, Yeah, someone mentioned
Mhm.
that, and I was like, that is so cool. I was like, the jobs kind of look the same, honestly. So
Yeah.
it's like a lot of people are like, oh, this guy is a bartender, but really they're like a mixologist. It's like it depends on like who. I just think that's pretty cool because like you're the first person ever in my life that I heard use the word mixologist.
Right on, man.
That's
Yeah,
so
I'm
cool.
pretty proud of it, and I'm doing it on a heavy budget since I am in fact starving artist. But we're getting through, and it's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun just to have like another new creative outlet to kind of
Yeah.
trade into and stuff like that. So
Okay. So whenever your album releases, I'll have you back on
okay,
to talk about it because you said hopefully by the end of 2023. That's whatever. That's fine. Because season 4 is probably gonna start beginning of 2024.
okay,
Um,
sweet.
yeah, and so it's like, um, if you decide to come back, which I will be asking you to join season 4.
Oh, I'd love
Um, yeah, and let's say your album ends up releasing. This is just an example. Let's say your album ends up releasing, next May, and let's say we
to.
record your season 4 episode in February. I will still like have you come on, and do your promo.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, they'll know. They'll know whenever your album comes out. Just know that the Vulnerability Time family has your back. We support you.
Right on.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Yes. Yes. All right. And I love your septum. I should have put mine
Oh,
in.
you can see it on the camera. Right on.
Yeah. I should have put mine in. Mine's in on the dresser right now. But
All right.
okay. So we'll be talking about freedom from the bondage of self. Now, obviously, this is going to be like a conversational, so it can go from A to the number L. I mean, well, that's not a number, but might as well make it a number, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to stick to this exact topic. It's just a great starting point. It's your episode, so you take it wherever you want to. If you want to keep it there, great. If not, that's okay. But with that being said, Casper, cool name. With that being said, Casper, let's dive right on into it. So, freedom from the bondage of self. Now, when I sent you like a list of episode title points, you took some time to think about it, and one of the ones that stood out to you said was freedom from bondage of self.
Oh yeah.
What about that resonated with you? Why the freedom from bondage of self?
Well, initially, when I was reading through the list, it was just like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And so it was just like, that sounds interesting. And then the more I started thinking about it, the more it was like, yeah, well, I think this might actually be sort of the perfect thing for me to talk about. Because I've always tried very hard in my life to be as comfortable with myself as I can be. Mm-hmm. And I try to sort of live that out and hopefully inspire other people to also realize that like the only thing that separates you from just being who you are is your own sort of like anxieties about what other people are going to say when you do that. And the interesting thing is that I found that I've certainly had mixed opinions from different people that have met me, but it also means that the people that do get it are like, I have really strong connections with them because they're accepting of like my whole self as I am and stuff. So that's something that I thought was very important to talk about today, because that's sort of my mission, is for everybody to be able to feel this way.
Right. Exactly. Like, also saw you mention in I just read it too. Let me go back to it. But you had also mentioned something about let's see, here it is. Expression and individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Defined what your definition, like, what do you mean by expression and individuality?
I think my I think that is sort of best defined within like the context of even just the main idea of the episode, just because they're kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, the more I was thinking about this, like the perception of like what the idea of self is, I think for a lot of people, self is something that they sort of step into based on what they see from others around them and the way that people perceive sort of their actions. They end up finding, okay, so this is something that people don't like when I do this. So do I want to define myself by that, or by like the opposite idea that would like get positive responses from others, if that makes sense? Like, I think oftentimes we take the way that our actions affect others and then decide if we like that reaction, and then that becomes what we decide that we are. And so then that's how we interact with people, or vice versa. And so I think that is where, for me, I think like the bondage comes in, right? Because you're purely defining yourself and what you choose to put out in the world based on what you're getting from other people. And then I think a lot of people sort of miss out on like the introspective part of the self. And that is where I think you can find true freedom from that bondage, is when you stop worrying so much about like, how am I going to be perceived?
Right.
And you start just living the way that you want to for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's less of, do I define, like, is the idea of what a good person is something that I'm finding for myself, or something that I'm getting from others? And then, like, that's an interesting thing to me, because, like, depending on who you talk to, morality and stuff is like very subjective. And so the idea of like good and bad is, like, by extension also very subjective. So I think it's more important to be honest, like, with yourself, and free yourself from the cage of trying to be hyper analytical of what everybody else thinks good is, and just kind of follow what you're looking for in your life and how you want to live as like a good or bad person, just for yourself.
Yes, because it's like everyone, I don't say everyone, but so many people, you know, have these definitions, and it's like we're coming across these people with definitions, and it's like, okay, we're getting this one definition from someone, then we're getting this other definition from someone, and then this other one, and then it's kind of like, who am I? What am I? I have to fit in, and it's hard to fit in when you have to like fit all of these definitions of people. And then something that I also noticed, and I'm holding myself accountable too, I've done this too before, when I didn't really know myself, and when I was trying to fit in, this was way back then, like middle school and stuff like that.
Oh god, not middle school.
Not middle school. I would like be uncomfortable with people being themselves, not because it's anything they're doing, it's just what I'm projecting onto them.
Right, and it's not what you've taught yourself that like people are supposed to represent themselves as. Right.
And then it's
sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. Sorry. Really quick, I'm always finished, I swear. And then it's kind of like, but don't lose your thought though.
I'll try.
It's like, I've also noticed that people have gotten upset with people for being themselves, because, you know, it's kind of like we want them to be us. Like, no, you be more like me. If you're not acting like me, or think what I think, or dress how I dress, then it's a problem. But it's just like, you weren't supposed to be me, you're supposed to be you. And
Right.
the reason why I say people is because, like, I the reason why I know that, and I'm not saying that to everyone, but the reason why I know that is because I've been that person to,
Mm-hmm.
look down on someone. Like, their confidence in themselves irritated my insecure demons. I
Sure.
was irritated at the fact that they could be they have a certain type of freedom that I do not.
Mm-hmm.
That was me all throughout middle school. And then high school, I was forced to be myself. Very painful, but I'm glad I did it, because now I am so myself. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Go to your thought. Okay, so your thought. I hope you didn't forget your thought.
That's what I'm saying. That's the vicious cycle, because whenever we're all younger, we decide to define what self is, not only for us but for everyone around us, based on like external input. And then by the time that we're adults, we're like, okay, so I know how everyone's supposed to act, and when I see people that don't act the way that I've like learned is right, then that will piss me off. And that's like the vicious cycle, because then it all just keeps going, and then there's division and like
someone's got to break the cycle.
Right, exactly. And that's my thing, is that, and I definitely get what you're saying too. I've had people in my life that have definitely been mad that I just like don't care about being who I am. And like,
exactly. Casper, you're the coolest people that I have met. Like, seriously, I had a lot of great things to say about you. Ask Alex. When I first met you, I was like, that dude is awesome, and I love his style. Like, he is so him.
Thank you. I'm actually, hey, check this out. This shirt.
Look at that.
I made this yesterday. I burned holes in it and like stitched it together and stuff.
And you rock it, man. You got the scepter, you got the necklace with it. See, they can't see you now. They can't see you right now because this is audio. But season 4, they're gonna be able to see you.
Rock and roll. I'll have to wear it again. Yes. Yeah, but I really appreciate you saying that, because it took me a lot to be able to show what my own definition of self and living for me. It took a lot for me to be able to like really do that. And I mean, there's definitely a price that comes with it, because you're gonna have to go through, like you were saying, in high school, you're gonna have to go through some rough times to get there, until people just have to accept that you're just going to be who you are, But once you get there, it's the most like, I don't know if it's like the whole ignorance is bliss thing or what, but it just like, it feels good to be able to wake up and only have to worry about like actual like stress that's on your plate, instead of having to do that and worry about, okay, what is my outfit say about me today, and like, how am I going to respond to people, because what are they going to think of me if I say certain things? And it's like, dude, just go out there and do the thing. It's so much less stuff to think about and worry about in life once you get on the other side of that wall. But I also think that I have like some notes here. I thought it would actually be interesting to talk about a different like branch of the same idea, because you could also see like freedom from the bondage of self, as we talked about, could just mean defining self based on what makes you happy and what makes you feel right instead of others. But you could also take that phrase and put it in the direction of like lack of self and like lack of identity. And that can be like the ultimate freedom from bondage. But I think that it gets very cerebral, so I need you to like buckle down and sit with me for a minute.
Go for it.
Because I was thinking about this at like 3 and 4 a.m. So it's gonna be some spacey weird shit. But anyway, but I was just thinking about how, and I've met a couple people in my life, very, very wonderful individuals that have kind of talked to me about this, and I think it's an interesting concept. But like, I guess the idea of like a lack of self and like a lack of identity comes from viewing like actions and consequences as less of like a real thing.
Mhm.
If you think about life as just like people feeling emotions and being around each other and thinking like without filters and stuff, then everybody like identity becomes very flimsy because you're not thinking about consequences or like morality anymore. You're just thinking about how do I feel right now, and no matter how I'm feeling, I'm just gonna express it without any regard for what that's gonna do to others. And I think that's
Yeah.
interesting, but it's also a very dangerous way
Yeah.
to go through life because I think there's like a certain clarity to gain from like that idea, but I think to live holistically in that is potentially detrimental because then it's like, how are you gonna connect with people, you know? So I think a certain sense of self is important, some structure rather than bondage, right? Is needed just for life to go on and for people to be able to interact with each other well. But it is
Wow.
interesting. It is interesting to think of, like, hey, if everybody just always said what they thought and didn't give a shit, and if I'm mad, I'm just gonna be mad
Right.
and not try and filter that. What does that look like? And like the unbridled happiness, the unbridled rage, the unbridled sadness, like it all becomes fully saturated. I think that's a very interesting thing to think about, just what
Yeah.
life would look like. Anyway, so that was just a thought I had for you.
Yeah. Ooh, talk about philosophy. Philosophy. No, because honestly, I'm speechless. I was literally just tuning in as if I'm listening to like you on a podcast and not like sitting on one with you. Like I was just like tuned in. I was like, what? Listen, Alex told me that this was gonna be a good episode. He told me that I would really appreciate talking with you, and yes, okay,
Right on.
yes. Alex
That means
knows
a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, Alex knows the BS that I've been through in my life. And he was like, I think you would really appreciate talking to Casper. And ever since then, and this was like months ago when he said this, and ever since then I was like, yeah, I definitely want Casper on my episode as quick as possible. I was like, as quick as possible, because originally when I first met you and we had talked about podcasts and stuff like that, my plan was like, okay, season 4. You know, because what people don't know is I've already finished recording for season 3.
Oh, really?
However, I had to make an exception for Casper. I was like,
thank you so much. I didn't know I was such a lucky ducky. Right on,
oh, dude, yes, I'm putting your episode out very quickly. So, yeah, I like shifted at my schedule and everything. So your episode is coming out a week from this recording. So, I just, you know, everyone needs a Casper in their life. So, speaking of philosophy, that whole philosophy of a parent not really birthing a child, they're just wanting to birth another them. You know, and I'm gonna get into that. That's gonna, you know, it's gonna make more sense. But I like to start off with something broad. But pretty much, you know, there's a lot of parents that, you know, they place that definition of what their child should be, and then that child is no longer themselves, but they're just trying to live up to the imperfect parent. And that doesn't mean the parent is a bad person for doing that. I unfortunately have both awful parents, both very toxic, awful parents.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Hmm?
I said I'm sorry to hear that. That totally.
Oh, me too. I'm sorry too. I am sorry too, but luckily I'm a boss bitch, and thanks to my higher power, I am broke free from all of that. But
Right on.
it is still a reality for a lot of folks, whether they have good or bad parents, or whatever that definition looks like, good or bad, whatever that definition is. It's the parent just not birthing a you, it's birthing another me. Like, I'm the parent, I'm just gonna try to birth another me, but on the outside it looks like I'm birthing another human being, but it's like, once that human starts growing up, they're like, no, you gotta think like this, you gotta think like that, and this goes beyond, you can't just go and stab someone in the throat, this is like, when it comes to like their own personal biases, which they're not necessarily bad for having, because something taught them that,
Right.
so I don't want to use a generalization or a fallacy of dramatic instance that says just because one person is doing this, that means they all do that. Like, it's not a one size shoe fits all. It's more so that this is an observation, this is a reality that does occur, is that there are parents that they will pour out themselves and stop that child from being themselves. Like, for me, I was asked a really hard question way back then, and by way back then I mean like maybe like, I don't know, whenever I started my healing journey. I would say a little bit after I started my healing journey. So I committed suicide when I was 15, and then I was brought back to life. So I think this was like around I was 17. My higher power told me that I shouldn't have to wait for my parents to die for me to start living. So I'm like, fuck, you're right, I'm living now. Fuck them, because it's just like, I don't want to be 40 or 50 and then I start living my life just because I was living to please them. Right. And mind you, when I say this is
gets
like
so much harder.
Yes, exactly. And this is easier said than done. I want people out there. I know people don't think I'm being, spiteful. But I still want to be able to say, like, I know to folks listening that, this is easier said than done. Easier said than done, you know what I mean? Like, especially when we've had a great parent, and then they have these expectations, that's gonna happen. And then there's also those expectations of, I want you to be just like me. It can really hold people back from learning themselves, growing, and fortunately a lot of people, it can teach us to live for others as well. It's a lot, you know what I mean? Like, these experiences taught me that, when I adopt, I'm going to, it's just present that this is another individual. My job is to love them, not to make them me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a unique perspective that, like, you can gain whenever you do sort of free yourself from that bondage of like other opinions and stuff, because at this point, whenever you start being able to fully accept yourself for who you are and express who you are out into the world, it becomes a huge eye-opener, because then you end up finding yourself celebrating everybody else for who they are. You know what I mean? Even if it's something that's different than you, something you might disagree with, it's still like, dude, you're out here getting it and you like know who you are. That's awesome. And so then it gives you that unique perspective of being able to be like, okay, so I'm just gonna love people, or like my child or whatever, I'm just gonna love them for who they are instead of trying to put things on them. And then if they come to me and they have questions, that's one thing we can
Right.
talk all day about. If you want to talk about the deep stuff, let's do it, dude. But it's not my job to immediately put that on you, you know?
Right.
Because like self-exploration and discovery and like gaining of other perspectives should be a self-led journey. That should be a DIY thing. That should not be something that you're having to be forced into, you know, because then nobody ends up coming out of it well on either side. Yeah, so absolutely. Also, this is a very random like thought that I had, but escape rooms popped into my head, and I think this is because sorry, not escape rooms, rage rooms came into my head. I think that's very interesting because that and similar experiences like that are sort of proof that even within like a macro scale, society as a whole and humanity as a whole, we crave that freedom from the bondage itself. It's just most people have a hard time articulating why they feel like they need to have that, and they have a hard time actually taking the steps to work at it. And that's not to say I'm in fear that I'm starting to sound a little pretentious. I by no means have mastered this skill. I still catch myself being like worked up about like outside opinions and stuff sometimes. It's a continuous journey that you're going to work on. But I think it's interesting that you can see these silhouettes of, we have rooms that are designed for you to just go be mad somewhere, but not anywhere that other people can see, because being mad is taboo,
right?
You know, or crying is taboo, especially for like the sort of stereotypical hetero male image. It's something that is very taboo. And like all of these emotions, even being like too happy, people will look at you and be like, what are you doing? Are you on crack? You know, and it's like, no, maybe I'm just really happy right now. Maybe I'm just living life and feeling good about being alive, you know. So I think it's sad that all these things are taboo, even though they're things that all of us want to be able to express in front of each other.
Right.
And so we've got businesses that say it's okay to do that here, but not once you walk out of our door. I think that's weird. And I think it's even weirder that nobody's picked up on this and just been like, okay, well then why don't we just live as ourselves, you know?
Man, you know, humans so complex sometimes, and societies, plural, societies very complex. It's just, but you bring up a good point. That is actually something that frustrates and stresses me out, because I think about it often, maybe a little too often. The principle of what you said. But hearing like the symbolism, the parallels, I thought that was pretty cool. But yes, the same principle that you conveyed, I definitely think about that a lot. You know, that reminds me like about, sorry, I gotta stretch my leg.
I
don't know, this reminded me. So Casper, I used to, as it's part of expressing my like self, my individuality, like I would wear whatever I thought was like cute, and whatever I liked, I wore it. Like I wore it, you know. And I remember, you know, in high school, now after like high school, you know, going into college, like, you know, I started getting like compliments and stuff like that. But in high school, you know, it was very evident that I was not afraid to be me. Well, actually, I was afraid, but I still did it anyway. And I remember, like,
that's where it starts, though, because that was literally me in high school too, and I didn't start getting compliments or anything till college.
right.
Also,
there was a teacher that would, like, make fun of me.
bruh.
I know, right? Yeah, he would, like, make fun of me and stuff like that. And, you know, I forgot the point that I was going with this. Actually, honestly, I forgot the point that I was going with this. But yeah, so, yeah. Well, this is not the point that I was going, but this is just another thing. So, it kind of made me think of, like, okay, I lost that other point as well. But I will say this. My, like, clothing, it is a part of, like, who I am.
Yeah.
You know, or me just, like, learning myself, and, like, I have different styles. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Yeah, like, and my styles have, like, evolved over the years. But, like, it's a part of, like, expressing my individuality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I look at it as well. Because my closet is full of, I wear classic, like, 30s menswear, the suits with the fedoras, the whole deal.
Yeah.
I wear like the most guttural, nasty punk club, messed up, thrashed stuff. Like my shirt that I'm wearing right now with holes burned in it. I literally just lit it on fire yesterday and threw it in the sink to see what would happen. And now I'm wearing it. But, like, so, I mean, I do that. I do, like, 70s Jimi Hendrix, like, hippie fashion. I do, you know, whatever. So I totally get it.
You throwing that shirt in the sink, like, after you lit it on fire, you just wanted to, you know, you wanted to see. And I love that, you know, that's symbolic. And it's like, you didn't know how it was going to turn out, but you still did it anyway. And it's like, you don't know until you know. And then look, I love that shirt. That shirt looks amazing. You know, and it's just like, I feel like that principle and that symbolism can be applied to so many areas of life, especially, like, you know, like, that principle can be applied to the journey of releasing the self from self-bondage. And also,
for sure. I mean, just
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, anything that you want to do in life, just set it on fire and throw it in the sink. That's all it is. Because you're not gonna know what you're gonna end up with, and it's gonna be different every time. So, just keep at it, dude. If you want to try something, just do it, and then deal with it later. Because the consequences are, in most cases, never gonna be as crazy. Like, they're never going to be, unless you're, like, trying to kill someone, which I would not recommend. Like, you're not going to be in, like, so much trouble that everything's going to be messed up. I mean, there are people that find their dream job when they're, like, 50, 60 years old. There is time to make mistakes, and there is time to have to, like, restart. And, like, all of that is okay. You know, I've worked in food service, in factories, in warehouses, at Goodwills. Like, I've worked so many different jobs, and I'm now, like, a pharmacy technician, which totally blows, but at least it pays okay. But it's like, but music is my true passion, so it's like, just keep at it, try stuff, live life, go out there and do things, and then you'll know. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And going back, because I forgot to mention this, something that you had just said reminded me of it. I know it's sort of random, but something that you just said reminded me of it. Like, I have many styles. Well, now I have, like, less styles, but, like, I'm like, I like, my wardrobe, some looks like fashion model stuff, some looks like just chill athletics. Some looks like a bougie dress up. I'm going to work with like a latte in my hand with my pinkies up.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, my clothing, like my like style expresses how I'm feeling that day.
For sure.
Yeah, cause like for me, I do suffer from ERD disorder, and basically that disorder, one of the things that disorder does is it completely obliterates our identity of self. So like we don't really know who we are. It takes really, really, really hard. Now that doesn't mean that all hope is lost. It's just like all I can do is just work on it and grow and
right.
learn.
Well, and this might be, I hope that this can be like sort of a comforting thought for you, but like who we are is constantly changing. You know what I mean? Like nobody
that's
ever,
what I was gonna get to. Yes.
Nobody ever really knows who they are either. And like the moment that they think they do is when they start oftentimes judging others for not being that way. You know what I mean? So just keep, like, it's okay to not know who you are, and it's okay to just live in the moment and do your best with what you got,
Yes, that's so beautiful. That is so true. And that's what kept me going. Well, one of the things that kept me going was like I remember this was like 4 years ago, and I was like, I may not know who I am, because this is when I was just now starting to do a lot of research on ERD. I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. I may not know who I am. I'm also autistic, by the way, fun fact, like a mild form of autism, so that also plays a part. But like, I may not know who I am right now. However, that doesn't mean I can't grow. That doesn't mean I can't learn. That doesn't mean I can't, you talking to wifey?
I am, but I'm also listening very intently.
Oh no, it's fine. I just thought that was cute. I was just like, oh, is that wifey?
Yeah, she's here chilling.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. And I was like, I do also have like core like values, like, like I value, being kind to others. I may not know fully like who I am, but like, or I may not fully know who Josias is, but I can still learn, I can still grow. And that's the thing. And I'm just like that's what I was gonna get to when you said, it can be constantly changing, because the Josias now might not be Josias, the same Josias in like 5-10 years from now. Like I know me even 2 years ago when my name was Trenton, and 2 years later my name's Josias, and I am a completely different person. And by different I mean like more healed person. The things that I think now I would not think back then. I look different in different stages of my life, and I love that. And,
well, that's why it always pisses me off when you're in interviews and they're like, what's your 5-year, and you're telling your plan. Because it's like, dude, I don't freaking know. I'm not even going to be the same person then, and I might not even want to do what I want to do right now in 5 years or 10 years. There's no way for me to know that.
Right.
All I know, so that's why, I mean, that even like the idea of self, all you really need to know is like, what makes you feel good about being alive, and then like pursue that. Whether that's like, I'm a very like empathetic individual, so like seeking or like tending to the needs of those around me and like being there for them is something that I like doing for myself. And I also, because I want to spread like that love and that peace out. And it's like, so that is like sort of my biggest idea of self. The other thing is that I'm a creative, and like that's as flimsy as my idea of self needs to be. Everything else is going to change, But those two things are like my ride or die, like character traits that I am gonna take with me through every stage of life. So, like, trying to find like freedom from bondage of self can be as simple as just defining yourself in those extremely vague like terms. You know what I mean? You might only need like 2 or 3 things that you're like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just whatever it is, you know.
Casper, you need to start a podcast.
Hey, I'm already on one.
No, like I'm like dead serious. I think you should start a podcast in the future. In the future, I definitely can see you having your own podcast.
Right on. I might have to look into that then.
Yes. Oh yeah, you got networking right here. I got you.
Thank you.
So, who's that? Is that your phone or my phone?
That was my phone. Here, let me put it on Do Not Disturb real quick. Also, Claire is currently playing Balloons Tower Defense. Just so you know.
I love that. I missed that game. I used to play that all the time.
Just what?
Sorry.
We're like talking about the meaning of life, and she's just sitting over here with her little balloons.
That is the game. Oh my gosh! Like I remember, like I would play that all the time in like school growing up. Yes. Oh wait. So like, I know we're running out of time. But there was also one other point, but that's okay. I forgot that too, but that is okay because you know what was needed to be said was said for the right people. We're gonna listen to this episode. So it's like, as long as people are getting encouraged, healed, or just learning something new, that is all that matters.
Amen.
Yes. All right, Casper. Oh yeah, folks. So, if no one has told you today that they love you, please allow yourself to be the first and allow me and Casper to be the second. Folks, you are loved. You are worth it. You have overcome 100% of your bad days. Because guess what? You're still here. Remember that time when you thought you weren't going to make it? You thought you weren't going to see the next day? Look at you now. You're still breathing. You're still here. There's still hope. Also, tune in next week for next week's episode, whatever that will be, folks, because I have no idea. At this point, folks, like my release schedule, it's just been all over the place, because y'all know, like, I've been going through a lot of grieving lately, so it's just been all over the place, so bear with me. Also, oh yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say. Last thing, Casper, there was something that you said early on, and I can't recall the words specifically, but I remember how I felt. And I want you to know I needed to hear that, because I almost quit doing the podcast. Like, I was like, literally, this was gonna be the last season. Like, I was more so leaning towards that. And then there was something that you said maybe like 10-20 minutes ago, and I was like, okay, that was my sign, because I was like, you know what, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. So yes, so we love that. Thanks for the inspiration. Yes. Thanks for the
well, no worries. That's what I'm here for. So I'm happy that I could encourage you to keep doing the thing.
Yes,
keep doing the thing.
Thank you, Casper. Well, yes, we support you. Yes, keep us updated on when your album releases. Like I said, you will be back on to let everyone know. And I look forward to it.
Sweet.
All right.
And I'll send you all of my like band's handles and stuff. So if you want to tag those in the episode, you are by no means obligated to, but it would help me out a lot.
I will literally do that as soon as you send them to me. Okay, so I'm gonna end the podcast episode, but you stay on for like 3 more minutes, okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Alrighty, I will see y'all next week, folks. Oh, also remember to share and subscribe to this episode podcast. Okay, alrighty, Optimus Prime out for some reason.